Hello everybody and welcome to my Endless Healer guide for Druids in the Proving Grounds. To begin with, I'm going to run through my gear, talents, and any glyphs needed, and then we'll hop into a wave by wave clear of 1 through 10, or 10, or 20 through 30, or you know, 10 waves. So just to preface this, I'm going to assume that you know what each mob does. If you're not familiar with any of the Proving Grounds, I suggest that you go and watch my Proving Grounds Gold Guide for Resto Druids, and then move on to this, and tackling Endless. Okay, so to begin with, I am a 727 Resto Druid with my legendary ring and yada yada. No one cares. It is completely irrelevant. You do not want a high eye level for Endless Healer. You want to scale down somewhere between the 600 and no higher than 615 item level. So we're going to hop into our Proving Grounds gear. So you'll notice that I am now a 613 Resto Druid. My suggestion with gearing is either heirlooms. I don't have any intellect leather ones because I didn't level as an intellect wearing druid, so I didn't bother with those, but the Spring Rain set from the salvage yard, or I believe you get it when you boost a druid, I'm not actually sure, is really handy. Also, you know, I just picked up a neck from the auction house. You can do the 4 dungeons that are level 100, just random Warlords of Draenor dungeon. They are Upper Blackrock Spire, Shadowmoon Burial Grounds, Grimrail Deeper, and the Everbloom. And they drop 600 to 615 gear, unless you get a Warforged, in which case a little bit unlucky. You're going to want as low of an eye level weapon as possible because apparently that weight's a little higher. I didn't mess with it, I just got my little Spring Rain thing. I used an alchemy trinket and a baleful token trinket. It's not the best, but it's what I could get. And then I got, you know, a couple of rings around from Nagrand. I think there's a belt that you can also get if you don't want the Spring Rain belt. There's some wrists floating around, also from Nagrand. The cloak I got was a lucky drop, but otherwise you're going to want to stack as much haste and mastery as you can. Some of my gear was really great for this, like my gloves and such. Other was like crit mastery, you know, crit haste, but whatever. If you want to absolutely best in slot yourself for these, go for it. I didn't have the patience. But now that we've gone over some gear, we'll have a look at talents. So I went with Displacer Beast, Renewal. Ysera's Gift is also a viable option if you wish. You're going to definitely need Typhoon for the strategies that I present in this video. Incarnation Tree of Life, Mighty Bash is another must-have. Nature's Vigil, and Germination. Moment of Clarity is also viable if you're having a lot of mana problems. I got up to 55 myself with no big mana issues, I suppose. I misclicked and stuffed up and that was the end of it. But so that's what we need for talents. For glyphs, you're going to definitely want Nature's Cure. Healing Touch is very handy. Entangling Roots is not 100% necessary, but again, very helpful. And you're definitely going to want Sprouting Mushroom. As far as buffs go, I just used a typical Intellect Flask, the lukewarm yak roast broth that you get from this little guy over here. Augment runes do not work. You could also use your Aurelius's Whispering Crystal if you so desire. But now that we've gone over all of this, let's hop into the wave by wave clear. Okay, so I started recording this at the very end of wave 20, where the combat break ends between each 10th wave. Make sure you start drinking as soon as you break combat, because otherwise there's going to be a bit of a problem. Check your food buff depending on how far you've gotten. This strat should work all the way for you up until waves at least 55 plus confirmed by me. When the first wave spawns, you're going to want to pick a Ripper, Cyclone it. I use a focus macro to do this. It's just simply /focus and then another cast Cyclone on target, or focus target. Make sure that after that you bash the Flame Caller, and then just keep that second Illusionary Ripper Cyclone for as long as possible, because there's really no point not to. You have so much time left at the end of this wave that, I mean, if they can't kill them one at a time, then there's a bit of a problem. I did drop my mushroom a little early right here. Normally for this wave I like to wait until there's about 5 seconds left on the timer before wave 22, or second wave I suppose. I'm just going to be referring to them through the 20s at the moment because that's what I've recorded. Make sure you hot up auto. You can pull your free cast procs of regrowth to refresh harmony. Then you're going to want to open with a bash on the hive caller, cyclone the ripper, and pop treeform and nature's vigil as soon as you can. A couple globals later, a couple casts later, you can then cast Ironbark on auto, just to make sure that he doesn't go down. And then just keep everyone hotted up, preferably with, you know, rejuve germination on all of them. And then Nature's Vigil should really just kind of take care of the rest for you. You shouldn't have to waste too much mana here. But do ensure you keep that small Illusionary Ripper cycloned, because the large Aqualites actually do a lot of damage, a lot of melee damage. And that Ripper's just kind of irritating, I suppose. You don't really want auto, like if he doesn't need to take that damage, then you don't want him to take that damage. Walk over to where wave 3 spawns and drop your mushroom and get ready to bash one of the tunnelers, it doesn't matter which, I go for the right one. Then once again cyclone the Ripper, and you can Nature's Swiftness the first chomp off somebody. It was on me, so you want to clear those as quickly as possible because that debuff can get really painful very quickly. So don't be afraid to use regrowth on someone even if you don't have like a clear casting proc, because it is honestly worth it. You'll waste so much mana otherwise trying to clear that debuff that you'll be for the rest of the waves, and considering this is only wave 3 in each cycle, you really don't want that. Otherwise, you want to keep that Ripper cyclone until the tunnelers are down, and then you can let that fall off, and then there's no further issues. Wave 4 spawns back toward what I like to think of as point 2, but I mean, it doesn't really matter how you want to mark them. So for wave 4, you're going to want to open with a Typhoon and then a Roots on that large Illusionary Aqualite. He will still be able to cast his little bubble spell thing, but he won't be able to melee, which is the important thing. I kind of messed up here and dispelled myself. Normally you can just run away and then pop Renewal on yourself. After that falls off, go bare form, pop Renewal. Because here I'm going to have to let one of the either Carvon or Sully let their buff fall off. It wasn't that big of a deal for me since they were already at full health, but if you can take the hit and then heal yourself up with Renewal, you'll be fine, and that way you can kind of pull your second Dispel. Otherwise, yeah, there are kind of RNG situations where, you know, the tank or like one of the melee will get it and you'll be able to dispel one or the other, and then your tank will take a huge hit, and it's just really not a good time. So wave 5 is just the Hive Singer, the Conqueror, and then later on a small Illusionary Tunneler. Again, you're going to want to open with a bash on the Hive Caller, and this wave you'll want to use your Tree of Life and your Nature's Vigil again once the Conqueror enrages. Then pop your Ironbark on auto and just start hotting everyone up. Make sure you've got Life Bloom on auto always. That should go without saying. If you're a Resto Druid, you keep your Life Bloom up on the tank primarily. And they should take care of the Hive Singer before it can do too much damage, and then the Tunneler will go down shortly after, as they both are only small mobs. The Conqueror shouldn't cause any issues once its enrage has ended, and with Ironbark it really shouldn't cause too many problems anyway. So while they take care of the large Illusionary Conqueror, you're going to want to get ready for wave 6. So you're going to want to drop your mushroom around where the Flame Caller will spawn. Get ready to bash it, go bare form in case you take the chomp. It'll make you take comparable damage to the NPCs, otherwise you normally take significantly more damage from mob abilities than they do. So once you've determined who the chomp is on, clear it. You can use Nature's Swiftness to do so. Keep the Ripper in this pack, again CC'd as much as you can with Cyclone, and make sure you're clearing that debuff. A good way to do it again is a regrowth and a Swiftman should usually finish it off for you. Otherwise, there's nothing of too importance here, other than keeping, you know, your debuff dispelled, your chomp debuff healed up, your tank life bloomed, and then you can kind of just get some mana back here. Don't really bother about healing too much, because as you can see, like, I'm getting quite low here and it hasn't even been that intense. So you can just stand around, hang out, chill, get your mana back. Wave 7 is 2 small conquerors and a hive singer, so bash the hive singer again. And once auto shockwaves, or once you're determining that this is where the mobs are going to stand, you're going to drop your mushroom. Once both the conquerors enrage, you can just pop Iron Bark on auto, and that should be more than enough for you to get through this wave. Those little guys don't actually do that much damage. Like, the first time I did this, I was freaking out, like, oh no, you know, we're gonna die, this is gonna be a lot of damage, but those two, since they're so tiny, their enrage isn't that scary with Iron Bark up, and you should be able to keep auto up with the mushroom and all 3 of your hots. You can always Genesis if you need to, just to speed that up, but otherwise you can kind of just wander over and get ready for wave 8. During wave 8, you are not going to want to use Nature's Swiftness. You can pop Bark Skin at the very beginning of the wave, just to make sure it comes up again for the next wave. But this is just a bunch of Flame Callers and a Ripper. So Cyclone the Ripper, and try and Typhoon the Conquerors all together. Position your mushroom better than what I did there, and just make sure you've got hots rolling on all of your party, because these Flame Callers fireballs do hit pretty hard, but they shouldn't be too much of a problem if you've got your hots ticking in the middle. The NPCs aren't the smartest, so hopefully no fire landed on them, but if it did, it shouldn't be too much of a problem. Again, you can just pop Genesis to keep them up if you need to. A trick that is done on this wave, and depending on how you want to do it, is keeping that small Illusionary Ripper CC'd so that the mobs stay over that side of the room and they're further away for wave 9. Personally, I didn't see much merit in trying to knock away the Hive Caller, then entangle it, then run out of range. So for this wave, I just kind of handled things my own way. You want to bash your Hive Singer, then pop, you know, your Tree Form and your Nature's Vigil. Make sure you've got hots rolling on everyone. You can even like use Trank, I think I did, on this wave, because you won't need it for wave 10 or the 10th wave, wave 30, whatever. So you want to make sure you've pulled up everything here. Make sure yourself pops Bark Skin. You can pop Iron Bark on auto relatively early, I would suggest. There is a Tenneiyl in this group too, so make sure you're watching for that debuff and clearing it as soon as you can. Make sure you're dispelling. And toward the end of the wave, like with just this Aqualight up, I'm just kind of pooling my mana just in case something goes a bit pear-shaped. I did actually end up pooling my Trank for this, so I didn't need to use it in wave 9, but you can. Like, there is absolutely no reason why you shouldn't be able to, considering that wave 10 is really a pushover. So you can bash the Flamecaller, Typhoon, and knock away the Conqueror, and then root it, and it will stay and just hang out, staring longingly at Otto, whose face he wants to smash in. And that way, like, they can take care of that Flamecaller. You can then heal Otto later up without too much of a hassle. This Aqualight spawns, but with, as you can see with Iron Bark up and my hots rolling, there's really no damage. The Mage will also pop Heroism on this wave, so you'll also have that. So just heal with Healing Touch, your free regrowths, and you know, toward the end, if you really feel like it, you can start help DPSing the Conqueror. If you feel like it's not going to go down in time, or you're going to not drop combat quick enough, try not to pop any more hots if you're going further than wave 30 at this point. There is a little bug where sometimes combat doesn't drop, but otherwise that is waves 1 through 10, or 20 through 30. Congratulations on your brand new title, and please leave any comments, questions, or concerns in the comment section. Thank you everybody, and yeah, stay tuned for more.